Good morning, everyone. Aspire has the privilege of interviewing Sergio Hernandez. Sergio is the president and CEO of CIAL, Dun and Bradstreet, Mexico, with more than 25 years of experience in Mexico and Latin America, leading financial services business like General Electric, HSBC, Engine, Meridian Capital. I had the pleasure of working with Sergio. He's one of the smartest people I worked with in my corporate career. Welcome, Sergio, and good morning.
Very good to see you. The privilege was all mine working with you. And a really smart guy is you. So great to see you. Great to see you, Douglas, as well. Very happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Sergio, to begin, we would like to touch on the subject of your executive journey and the contest about it. You have held significant leadership roles during your career. How would you describe what I call the red thread that connects your career decisions so far?
I think it's a combination of desire, ambition, and circumstances. But I think the conducting thread in my career has always been looking for opportunities to learn and looking for opportunities to be with talented people in challenging situations. I was never one that would settle for something very stable for too long. I was always curious about taking on new challenges. I've always been willing to raise my hand to a new challenge. And I think that eventually has been what opens doors and opportunities for me. That has worked for me.
Hey, Sergio, great to see you. I'd like to move on with the same subject and ask you, what is the most critical challenge you are currently passionate about solving in your professional fields?
Well, there's been many through my career, Douglas. I think in my current role, I've been with this company, with CIAL and Bradstreet, for a little over 5 years, and it's been a very interesting journey. The company went through an acquisition, and I joined right afterwards with a plan to grow the company tenfold in the next 10 years. That has involved a deep transformation of the company, the team, the business model, the technology, and growing at a sustained pace of over 25-30% a year. So, and I mentioned it because that's an exciting challenge today, but that has been probably the circumstances in which I have found several times myself throughout my career. And that's always exciting for me, a journey of transformation, a situation where I can really impact, transform the business, be it because of an acquisition, be it because of a turnaround, fast-paced growth. That's what I find the most interesting, managing in times of change.
Sergio, let's change a little bit the subject and talk about strategic decision-making here. You often have to face you always have to make decisions with incomplete information. What's your personal framework for dealing with, or navigating, or for dealing with ambiguity?
Well, ambiguity, Marcelo, the first thing I think is just to accept that ambiguity is part of the game. It's a constant. So the first thing is you have to be comfortable with making decisions and moving fast pace, knowing that you never really have everything figured out. That applies also at personal and career level as it does in business. I personally seek to always surround myself with a solid team, both a good leadership team, and also good advisors, good mentors, a good board of directors, whatever the circumstance. So trust your team, trust your intuition, try to get reliable data points as much as you can, and then move on. A lot of times, a decision with half information is much better than no decision. So, and there's always a chance to correct and change and veer the course as you go forward. Actually, in today's world, continue being able to pivot and correct is actually a very relevant managerial leadership skill. The world is changing very, very fast.
Excellent, Sergio. Thank you. Could you also share an important moment where you had to lead a major organizational pivot or transformation? What was the hardest part of that process?
I can think of one particular situation, which is when I partnered up with a private equity fund for the acquisition of GE Capital in Mexico. That was a really, truly a very challenging situation. We essentially had to rebuild the company because really the acquisition didn't really involve an operating company. The acquisition involved more a great portfolio and a very good team. But we had to rebuild the company around that from the ground up. We also have to procure funding to the tune of over $1.2 billion in less than 6 months. We're under time pressure because cash flow was running low, and we also had to reposition the team and the company commercially in a very significant way, because the company, of course, couldn't offer the same rates that it did back when it was GE funding. So that was truly, truly challenging. The main challenge for me, being in the middle of it, was the culture, and getting all the stakeholders engaged in a comprehensive and harmonic way, I would say. You had a team that came from GE that was not necessarily used to a situation like this. That may have been some people may have been hesitant or concerned about the course that the company was taking. And also you had a private equity fund and a board of directors that was not very patient and wanted things to move fast. And a lot of times when you're talking a large team and a deep change, you cannot really move too fast. You're talking people. You need people engaged. You cannot really force things. So managing that dynamic was really, really, really challenging. Probably the biggest challenge I had from the leadership perspective in my career.
Sergio, let's talk about building a culture with a high performance team, no? At the executive level, the CEO, the president level that you are right now, the product is usually the team that you build, right? So the question is, what are the non-negotiables, not only in your team, but when you are hiring direct reports? What's non-negotiable for you?
Great question, Marcelo. People talk about culture, like a lot of times people relate culture to the feeling in a company, the environment, something fuzzy. And it's actually not fuzzy at all. Culture is the hardest thing, and it's the most powerful thing that you can build in a company. It beats the strategy every day. The first thing you need for a company to succeed is a performance culture. And in building a high performance culture, I believe the non-negotiables are the fundamental values. You have to be clear on what values the organization has. Values pertaining to everything. One very central for me is always performance. It's always delivering. It's always a commitment to delivering on the objectives of the company. So when hiring, that's a non-negotiable. People have to be able to show that they're committed, that they're willing and able to perform and to deliver. And that's a very, very difficult thing to find and measure in an interview. So we use many different means or mechanisms of hiring and selecting people, particularly in commercial roles, but not only in commercial roles, because you really have to have a feel for the set of values of the person, competencies and values. The experience the technical expertise, the product to me is not as relevant. You can always learn that, but you cannot learn values. And you cannot learn fundamental personal and professional competencies, things like commitment, leadership, the ability to work in teams, the willingness to learn, flexibility, adaptability, those like that sort of thing.
Sergio, when it comes to performance, I think there is a question that a lot of people are curious about. So let me ask you that. How do you balance the drive for short-term results with the need to go to foster a long-term and sustainable corporate culture?
That's a very a great question, Douglas, and a very difficult challenge. That's an ongoing challenge. A lot of times the decision that optimizes the short-term results is not necessarily the best one for the long term. So you have sort of to pick your balance. I mean, you have to keep the stakeholders, the board of directors, the shareholders, whoever you're working for as a leader, generally speaking, happy and comfortable with the results, particularly the financial results. But you also have to be able to tell them and do the trade-offs. So what I do is I always manage the communication to the best of my ability and the expectations on both sides. So managing up the board with the shareholders, the owners, whoever I'm working for, I always try to keep them aware of the trade-offs and the decisions and the longer game. And negotiate what success means, even if it means trade-offs, I'm sure. I learned very early in my career, the thing is no surprises. You don't always have to have good news, but you cannot afford to have surprises. So to me, that always managed. That always has worked well. It's an ongoing challenge. That was never easy. But I think communication and properly managing and communicating what's going on and what the longer range game is always very important.
Sergio, let's change the subject to mentorship. I know that you have led many rising stars during your career. So what's the one piece of advice, one or more, that you give to people looking for the managerial level?
Yeah, I have many, but I'll try to distill to one or two, Marcelo. First of all, I'll tell you, I've always enjoyed working with people and mentoring people. That's in my DNA. That's one of the things that moves me. That's one of the things that I enjoy a lot. So it comes relatively easy because it's authentic. So my advice to anyone looking to grow their career is actively seek mentorship and seek for people that you can learn from. Look for role models, look for people, and don't be shy about getting closer to someone that you think has something to offer. And that comes in many shapes and forms. It's not necessarily always the person who give you the pat on the back. He's the person that challenges you, that demands from you, that asks you the tough questions, that sometimes puts you in a bind, that is doing most for your development. Yeah. And I know a guy like that who had a big impact in my career.
How do you see the importance of executives like you or at the director and above level of looking for mentors to discuss their concerns? Because it's usually very tough for a CEO or a president to disclose his concerns, his daily concerns to another executive, right? It's a matter of privacy, of pride. So
yes, absolutely, Marcelo. That's a very difficult piece. The higher up you go in an organization, the lonelier you feel. It becomes very lonely, and it also at some point you can feel a bit vulnerable. You don't always have the answers. You don't always feel 100% confident with what you're doing. But people are watching you all the time. A lot of times, you're in a bad mood, even personally, because you have some problem at home or something, and people are looking at you and expecting you to behave at your best. So I always like to surround myself with people that I trust, from all places. It doesn't really have to be within the company, but throughout my career, I always try to make good friends, with mentors, people that I've met along the way, and touch base and bounce ideas every now and then. Right now, I'm in a senior executive development course with people who are, company owners, CEOs, people who have been leading companies for at least 10 years. Then continue to build my network, continue to bounce ideas with people from all walks of life. That's one piece. That's something that you have to do in a very deliberate way. And then within the company, I always like to have trusted people who tell me things as they are, not just at my direct report level, but also, within the organization, people that I can reach out, that I can build connection with, that I can hear from exactly what's going on. The worst thing you can do is to isolate yourself and to pretend that you really have all the answers. Nobody does. And the job can get very, very complex. Now, I didn't always know that, I, like everybody else, I made mistakes. I screwed up several times, and then you learn, and the important thing is not, attempting to be successful at everything. The important thing is to fail and learn and apply those learnings as you go along the way.
That's great, Sergio. Let me ask you for another piece of advice. Looking at the evolving global landscape, in your opinion, what future-proof skill should today's leaders be obsessing over right now?
Another great question. Okay. And for your younger clients or mentees or something very important, I think. I think in the way the world is going, I think the one critical, I would say two critical skills that people will have to develop successful careers. First is the ability to work with people. The ability to connect, to build empathy, to collaborate, to work with people, to lead, to be led. There's no replacement for that. There's no AI or technology that can replace that. And the second one is to be the continuous willingness and ability to learn and to break your own paradigms, your own beliefs continuously. One thing that happens with experience is people tend to rely a little too much on experience, and things change very fast. And the ability to learn and unlearn, continuously adapt and change.
Well, to wrap things up, the final question for you. I'm not trying to drive you into retirement, but I would like to know from you, what do you want your professional legacy to be?
Oh, well, that's a good one, Marcelo. I'd like for my professional legacy to be a couple of successful companies that sustain growth, and I can tell, I helped build that. A good network of people that reaches out on occasion for some advice. As I retire, I would like to be maybe in boards of directors, in advisory roles, in consulting, things of that nature, continue contributing. So I'd like for my legacy to be, to be seen as someone who had impact in people's careers and expectations, someone who can continue to be trenches. Now, I don't have any to retire anytime soon, but I'm also already starting thinking about it. So I think that's what I would like to.
Thanks, Sergio, again. And let me ask you a question, one additional question to finish. Where can the audience follow your insights to learn more about what you are doing? It's in LinkedIn, it's somewhere else. How can people follow your career and what you are doing?
Professionally, I'm quite active in LinkedIn. Well, not as active as I should be, I would say. But certainly LinkedIn, that's where I have my most of my insights and interviews and things that come up. I think LinkedIn is by far the best network.
Well, Sergio, thank you very much. It has been a real pleasure. Fuerte abrazo. Aspire wishes you all the best, Douglas, Juan Pablo, and me. And we hope to talk to you in the near future again to see how you are doing and what kind of achievements you are achieving in Mexico. Okay.
Thank you, Marcelo. Very, very happy to talk anytime you guys want. And I also wish Aspire all the success. I'm sure you'll continue to be very, very successful. Thank you very much for the time and the opportunity.